Yeah, I think this is a really interesting story because while the whole world is focusing on chips and models right now and AI, and I think that there's another leg up that it hasn't quite caught on yet, which is the experience makers in the world and the companies that are going to be using all of these fantastic new tools that are being developed by like the Googles of the world. And how they're going to create human experiences around it. And so a company like Starbucks, we actually have it as like a hold, but a speculative buy right now, just given on potential. I love that they're going back to their roots. I love that they're focusing back on the things that made Starbucks special. And they've done this a couple times now. And then, we see this obviously in brands time after time. Disney's done it as well, where they've kind of gotten away from the things that have made them special. And then they have to go back to the basics. Starbucks is going back to basics again. And I think that's a really good move. And I think right now the tailwind behind what they're doing is going to be even stronger, just given that I think people are going to be craving a little bit more of that human to human experience, given that the world that we're in with AI. So I love this. I love the direction they're going in right now. I mean, I think that again, I'd call it a bit of a speculative buy because there's still a long way to go in the execution of that strategy, and they're not the only ones. But overall, as a theme, where we're looking at is the experience makers that are going to use AI to make the human experience a whole lot better going forward. And I think that's ultimately going to be the real winners. I mean, you look at the internet revolution back in the early 2000s, and it's not like we're talking about the internet makers now. We're talking about the Amazons and the Alphabets of the world. And I think that the experience makers are going to be in the same boat as it relates to AI going forward.
You have a stock idea for us called Bread Financial Holdings. And it's
Yeah.
yet another of the players in the fintech arena. They offer cards, they offer loans. Tell us what attracts you here.
Well, I think it's is a bit of a different ballpark altogether because like this is just a really interesting company that is, essentially what they do is they make buying things easier, and they work with some really strong brands, like Saks and Saks off Fifth, and crypto.com is kind of a more interesting one now, where they've created a partnership there where if you're using the credit card tied to crypto, you're getting crypto benefits and so on. So essentially what this company does is, if you're looking at those, you're buying something and they create special terms around it, you pay over the next 4 months or something like that. That's what Bread does. Where I like this is, especially if we continue to see maybe like, wallets tightening a little bit over the next little while, or if it continues on like it has over the last year, companies like this can do very, very well because there's still going to be consumption, but you might want to consume at a slightly better terms for you. So I think that there's a really good tailwind behind this company from a cyclical perspective. But they're also getting really good uptick with some great brands, like I mentioned, like Saks and crypto and more. So I think that there's going to be that much more partnerships going forward. So this company's story is really just getting going. And from a pricing perspective, it's trading really well. I think there's a good value opportunity here. So all things are really lining up. I mean, the balance sheet's strong, the growth is strong. Pricing is in a good space right now. And I think that there's good tailwinds on a growth story here from a cyclical nature. And so I think as an investor, out of all the companies I've talked about today, probably the best value opportunity is Bread Financial. And it's definitely worth taking a look at for opportunities. Again, if you get away from the top names that have driven the market over the last year or two, if you find names like Bread Financial, there's a lot of room still to grow here. And, I wouldn't be surprised to see it again 25 to 30% over the next 12 months, assuming the markets hold out and don't fall out from underneath us.
Grant, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, my pleasure, Andy. Thanks so much.
Grant White, Portfolio Manager and Investment Advisor at Endeavour Wealth Management.